Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Hamilton Report. It is the 11th of December, and I can't believe that we have just moved this quickly through the month of December. There's a lot going on, though, that doesn't stop because of the holidays, and tonight's show is about that. It's about a group of people who wanted the best for their community, and when they didn't get it, they kept pushing. An inspiration to me, and I think they'll find them very inspiring as well. All that and more on tonight's The Hamilton Report. Well, as I said, we've got an exciting show for you this evening, but first I want to thank you for tuning in. As you hear me say every week, I enjoy being here with you on Monday evenings, and I don't take the privilege of coming into your home once a week for granted. I'm truly appreciative of you inviting us in and spending some time with us on Monday evenings or whenever you watch this broadcast. Before we introduce our guest this evening, I want to share something with you that I thought was very interesting. You know, there's all of this talk, and it's absolutely ageist around President Biden's age. He's making fun of it. He's making light of it. And you know what? I would too, because considering all that he's accomplished, age has not been a factor and it won't be. But there's another candidate on the other side of the aisle that I don't think we can say the same thing for. Take a look at this clip from our friends.
I can tell you he is as sharp now as he was when I knew him 30 years ago.
And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won.
Those cognitive test results are absolutely fantastic.
We built almost 500 miles of wall. Even the Obama administration says it in their stats.
He's incredibly sharp. He's got a better memory than I have, than you have.
But they all thought that Bush might win. Jeb, he got us into the Middle East. How did that work out?
There's no decline, zero.
President Obama, he should immediately resign.
President Trump is fit. He's ready to go.
Viktor Orban. Did anyone ever hear of him? He's the leader of Turkey.
Of course, Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary.
He makes one little mistake, the media goes insane.
Obama wants to, he doesn't even mention them in his statement.
Well, you mean President Biden?
His cognition is top-notch.
Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. So, Sioux City.
Voters next year will be able to decide, do they want to vote for a vegetable for president or somebody who's got energy and mental acuity?
We would be in World War II.
Thank you to our friends at the Lincoln Project for providing us some great content this year. It's been a privilege to share so much of their work because they mean what they say and they say what they mean. I really am impressed with this group of folks and the way that they continue to fight for our country. Speaking of fighting, tonight I'm very, very proud to welcome to the Hamilton Report a group of people who have been fighting for their community, a group of folks who recognized that there was something very wrong and set out to fix that. I'll let them tell you more of that story now. Please help me welcome to the Hamilton Report friends from the Enid Social Justice Committee. With us this evening, we have Father James, we have Nancy Presnell, and we have Connie. Connie, I'm drawing an absolute blank on your last name. I'm so
Vickers.
sorry. Vickers. It was right there. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But I am so glad that you all could be with us this evening. Let's take folks back a little ways. When I first became aware of this situation, it was because of the Enid Democratic Party. Nancy is the chair of the Enid County Party. And she shared this with me. Well, immediately we started talking about this on the Chair's Daily Live, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on this broadcast as well. So where all this started, and I'm going to just leave it right there. Where did all of this begin for you folks, where you said, we've got a big problem here?
Scott, first, thank you so much for having us. It's a real honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be here. But it started for me, and I think the movement started back in January when there was a candidate forum, and the newspaper had published a report about concerns that one of the candidates, Judd Blevins, had ties to Nazism and white supremacy. And they had published this in the paper. Then we had a local evangelist who came out and denied all of it and defended him. And I think people kind of blew it off. So Connie and I went to the candidate forum, and we had submitted questions about white supremacy affiliations and the like, but none of them got chosen. So after the meeting, we approached Mr. Blevins, and Connie was well prepared with this lovely sign of him at Charlottesville carrying his little tiki torch. So we approached Mr. Blevins, and I said something like, we've been following the campaign, and there have been reports of possible ties with white supremacy. And he smiled real big, and he said, oh, that's distortions, fake news. And so then Connie pulls out this poster and shows it to him and says, so this isn't you? And so immediately his face turned beet red, and he goes, so that's what this is all about. And he starts to stomp off. And his campaign manager grabbed him and led him out of the arena. They kind of just left the place immediately. And Connie dug up a lot of videos and photographs that had not been included in the newspaper's report, and physical evidence like this of his involvement. And so people like Father James and Christy Balden, who is the chair of our movement, heard about it, and we started organizing with actually Father James and Christy. And, you know, with the information that Connie had provided, and the movement just kind of grew from there.
I want to just interrupt for a second and tell you, I posted about this last week and how proud I was of all the work you're doing. I posted this on Twitter, and I referred to him as a Nazi, and I got beaten up over that. They said, yeah, Democrats always call people Nazis. That's your go-to. Well, that's not true. And I said, look him up. And then other people started pulling his quotes and his videos where he doesn't deny it. It is what it is. So when you call yourself a Nazi, don't knock me for calling you a Nazi as well.
Exactly. And Scott, who else but a Nazi would have a confirmed quote saying, I do not feel safe without my assault weapon and my swastika armband? Is anyone but a Nazi going to say that?
He doesn't feel safe without his armband. Is that like a teddy bear that he carries around?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Father James, tell me what was it that sparked you into not just joining this effort, but really to become a very strong community leader in this effort?
Well, it was inspiration from Connie and from Nancy, from Lenita Norwood, who's the NAACP. They really, and I just wanted to be a part of it, not, in spite of being a priest, but because I am a priest. My heroes have always been St. Oscar Romero, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Martin Luther King Jr., clergy who didn't sit kind of safely within the confines of the church when there was injustice and evil, but that went out and put themselves in the face of it. So I was honored to join with Nancy and Connie and Lenita and Christy and all the folks that were willing to make themselves known in a community where that entails a considerable amount of risk. So it's been an honor for me to be a part of this and just to play whatever role I can.
Well, I have to tell you, when you start talking about Martin Luther King and Bonhoeffer, that's some pretty good company. And in a time, this is a bit of an aside, but in a time where people put their Christianity on their Facebook page, but you don't see any follow through so often as that being an actual thing. I applaud you for using your position in the church for social justice, because I know in my faith, that is the most important thing that I can do to be of help to other people. So I just needed to acknowledge that. And especially as a priest, it can't always be comfortable because not everyone in your parish is going to agree with you. But for the fact that you stepped out in your faith to make a really powerful difference, I think that there's an awful lot to be said there. I want to mention this. I've spent this year a fair amount of time in Enid, and I have to tell you, some of the best folks I've met live in Enid. It's a kind group of people. When we were there for the road tour, I was so impressed at the diversity in folks who came out. I love the fact that you have black and white folks, you have folks of different ages working together. And that's what the Democratic Party really is about. And you all live that every day. So I'd like for you to talk from the perspective of the party for a moment, Nancy, the county party. Did you get any pushback to this effort at all?
Not as the county party, no. As individuals, we've had some pushback. I've been threatened with a lawsuit, and for speaking the truth, and it's no big deal. We have been targeted by right-wing organizations who have, there's an incident recently that Judd Blevins filed a police report that his brake lines had been cut. And it appears to me to be very, very, very suspicious. In a town as flat as Enid, who are you going to hurt by cutting their brake lines, And, but anyway, the leaders of right-wing organizations have come out of the woodwork and accused people named in that police report falsely by Judd as trying to assassinate him. And so
now he's playing the martyr in all of this.
Yes. Yeah. And it appears that this police report was an attempt to paint himself as a victim, which would then justify him and his followers lashing out at the Enid Social Justice Committee and our members, and possibly, I don't know, well, I don't want to say violence, but if we're dealing with Nazis, who knows?
Yeah.
But we have had some pushback, but generally, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
We've had a lot of support also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had really more support than, when we were collecting signatures for the petition. Connie and I went out as a team most of the time, and about every 4 houses that we went to, we got a signature. Now that includes houses where nobody was home, and we left a little sticker that said, "This is what we're here about. Please call us, contact us if you want us to come back." And people were calling us to come back. So that's 1 out of every 4 households. There was only 1 person who was rude to us, and that was because we woke her up.
We attended a local festival too, and people there were just so supportive. That was in August, September, the Kite Festival.
The Kite.
And a lot of people still didn't know, but they were very supportive of us and were shocked that we had a Nazi in our city council.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we say, we say this as a party, but Alicia Andrews, our chair, says this, honestly, it seems like almost every day, because it's not sinking in enough. We have to pay attention to everything on the ballot. We've got, and you all know this probably better than anybody else. It's municipal elections that have the greatest impact on your daily lives. That's true for all of us. And you just got busy here. And we need to mention, Connie, you've had a horrible chain of luck lately. But you just, you have just kept on.
Broken arms, yes. But you do what you got to do. And I picked up the last couple weeks and started going again and going door to door, knocking on doors.
With 2 broken elbows.
Well, that's quite a commitment, and there's so much to be learned from what you all have done in circulating this recall petition. I can't imagine the deciding process in that, because you knew you were going to get pushback. You knew that there would be Republican hate groups crawling out from the woodwork, and yet you said, we're willing to deal with that. We are willing to deal with that because this is something we believe in. And how do we convey that message, Father James, to a broader group of folks, the people watching tonight that may have, maybe it's not a Nazi on the city council where they live, but an issue that is not being addressed? How do you galvanize people to work together to affect positive change in a community?
I think it has to be person to person, which is the slowest, but probably the most effective way to do it. And I'll say, the hate groups that have been pushing back against us and using language like we're, attempting assassinations and things like that. They're very, very fringe. And when we were going out, there were people of pretty much every political persuasion that signed the petition. And I think it's heartening that, all of our other differences aside, most of us can agree that Nazis don't belong in power. But this is not just an Enid issue. This is not an issue that ends with him being recalled. So-called
we're experiencing some delays in your feed there. I'm sorry, we were experiencing some delays in your feed.
Is that better now?
Yes, and you said the last thing I heard you say was that people from all political persuasions can agree that we don't need a Nazi in power in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I went on to, this is way more than just an Enid issue and an Enid City Council issue. The so-called pastor that has been defending him as a white nationalist, as a Christian supremacist, as a neo-Nazi, is on Ryan Walters' advisory committee. We have, the same forces working to censor and ban books in our community. It's very much, it's not an outlier anymore. It's not just this one individual. He is emblematic of a much broader movement that needs to be addressed.
I couldn't agree more. And that's why this work has been important. Now, when is the recall election scheduled for?
It'll be in April.
April 2nd, I believe.
Now, I thought he wanted it much earlier than that.
He did.
Yeah.
He got shut down.
Yeah. He wanted it to be in February, and there would have had to have been a special emergency declaration for that. And he tried to bully our city council and our mayor into doing that, and our mayor would have none of it. He defanged him pretty quickly.
Well, then that means that even people who may not have come out publicly in support of you recognize that there is an issue here that must be addressed.
I think so. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's hypothesize a moment and go through that election. If he is recalled, then what happens?
Then we have a Ward 1 city commissioner that we can be proud of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually a new election, so there will be somebody running against him, and it's a question of whether he or the other candidate wins. In some places, the recall is just that candidate, and then there's a new election. This is kind of both at the same time.
Okay.
So it's a candidate versus him on the ballot, and if he wins, he stays in. If he doesn't, he's out.
Now, I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been more of a vocal support from the military base there. Does that surprise you all at all?
No, no, and not speaking ill of them at all. I spent 11 years in the military, and the military goes to great lengths to remain apolitical. Just behind the scenes, they are mortified by this, but they're going to leave it entirely up to civil authorities to handle it.
I respect that. I really do. I was just curious as to where you all thought. And how about teachers? How about parents? How about other groups of citizens in Enid? What are they saying about all of this? I can't imagine that parents would be very happy.
I don't know of any group like that or organization that has really taken a stand on it. Scott, I want to back up for just a moment back to Vance Air Force Base. I've been going to the city council meetings for a while, and it's customary for somebody from Vance to be at every single city council meeting. Quite often it's the base commander. But since this came about, that no one from Vance has been there, and it's very noticeable. But anyway, sorry. But as far as teachers groups,
that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
But parents, you're not hearing big outcry from parents about this?
The Republican 80% went for Trump, and they're very political on their, Republican values.
Well, this is more about humanity than it is about political value.
Exactly.
And there are a lot of people who are Republicans that have spoken to members of our committee individually, but Democrat or Republican or other, people are afraid to speak out on this because there are social repercussions. And if you're a small business owner, there's income repercussions.
Yeah, and we have to acknowledge that. I mean, anything we do, whether it's a ballot initiative or supporting a candidate, I get it. Where if you run a small business in a small community, you can't jeopardize your livelihood. So I do understand that. And so,
and I think teachers are also threatened with, Ryan Walters on their case. They're trying to keep their noses clean and staying away from him.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a teacher a couple of weeks ago, and she is also in CD3, and she said that everyone in her school is a diehard Republican, including the principal, and he's always trying to engage her in political conversation, and she just won't go there because she's afraid.
Yeah.
So I do understand that. So that makes it even more compelling that those of us who have a voice use that voice for those who don't or can't use their own. And there are reasons, and I get that. But as long as we are able to affect good change in our communities and we don't do that, then shame on us, because that's really incumbent upon all of us who are in a position to raise issues, to bring things to the forefront, to do that. And I'm happy to say that that's something that you all have been doing. I'm trying to remember, because at one point I counted, there was a really good turnout for the first protest you did, the one that I came up for. If I remember right, there were over 70 people there. Does that sound right?
Yeah, at one point there were close to 90 around there.
Okay, and that says a lot, because it was during the day. People hadn't even gotten off work yet, in many cases, and so. But I was thrilled with the people driving by who were cheering you on. That spoke volumes to me, because while they may not come up and say I'm behind you and I support you here, they did let you know as they drove by that they appreciated the work.
Yeah.
This is going to be tough because we only have a few minutes left. But Nancy, from your perspective as the chair of Garfield County Democrats, what advice would you have for other party leaders in other counties in terms of just making a big stand on an issue that they feel compelled to really work for or against?
Wow. Well, I think one of the first things is find allies who are at liberty to speak out. Connie and I are both retired, so nobody can fire us, and Father James speaks out. He speaks the truth, and he does what's right or wrong, no matter what, the result. So that would be a first thing. And the second thing is I would encourage somebody to communicate regularly with our state office and get suggestions from you and Alicia, and enlist your support and your suggestions. And I would just say, stage events, use your precinct officers to contact people in their areas, and just communicate with people in as much as you can, in as much as you're able.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because, we could not jump headfirst any faster into this than we did as a state party. And we want our county parties to know that you have a great resource here in terms of being a sounding board or to lift up your message, as we were able to do with the good folks in Enid. I'm going to offer you this invitation right now. If anything else happens between now and the election, I definitely want to talk about that. But I also want to have you all back on following the election, because that way we will have followed it all the way through. And what is does the Enid Social Justice Committee have a website?
Yes, we do.
We do. It's enidsjc.org.
Okay, enidsjc.org. And whether you live in Enid, close to Enid, or at the other end of the state, I encourage you to take a look at the work that they've done, get some ideas. And I know Nancy is one of the most accessible chairs I know of, and I know that she would be happy to offer her guidance. And Connie, you have been in this from the beginning, and you've got a lot to share on this as well. Father James, I'm awfully proud of you and the work that you have done and continue to do. And I want to thank you all for being with us this evening. This has been enlightening, but it's also been encouraging, because if you can do it, another county can do it. If you can do it, other people can do it. That's what we want folks to understand, that when we work together in community, we don't have to just sit back and take the things that are dished out. We really can have a say. And so Connie, Nancy, Father James, to the three of you, plus everyone else who has been involved in this process, please accept our thanks and our admiration, and know that we will be following this all the way through to the end, because we've got some great folks here to look up to, and I continue to be proud to walk with you all, not just in this journey, but the journey to make Enid a better place for everyone.
Thank you so much, Scott. We appreciate you so much.
And I would just like to say that it does take all of us. There's all kinds of us. There's the quiet ones like me. There's loud-spoken ones. There's people in between. There's people doing something all the time to forward this initiative.
That's an important piece. And I'm going to run over just a little bit here, because I'm glad you said that, Connie. You don't have to be comfortable knocking on doors. And some people just aren't. Some people are not comfortable making phone calls, but they're happy to write postcards from their house. They're happy to drive other people around while they knock doors. And this is true for candidates as well as issues like this. So there is a place for everyone to be involved. And I think that that's something that we have to just always be mindful of reminding folks that they have a place in our work. And the more hands that we have here, the greater the chances of us having a bigger impact in the state of Oklahoma, turning things around in our legislature, starting this coming election cycle. And you all have paved the way and given us a lot of momentum. So thank you again. And if I don't speak to you before, have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. And I'll look forward to talking with you all real soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wow, I am so encouraged by the work that they have done and are doing, and I hope that you got an idea here of how important it is for us to work together, and what we really can accomplish when we do work together. And I'm very, very grateful for the leadership that exists in our party at the state level, county levels, our CD officers, our federation folks. We've got a lot of great things going on, a lot of good people to work with. And so I just want to salute all of them. And I thank you for tuning in tonight. On behalf of our chair, Alicia Andrews, all of our officers and the staff, from all of us here at the Oklahoma Democratic Party, I'm Scott J. Hamilton, thanking you for joining us. Good night.